welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UKOCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
You're listening to the fifth most popular podcast for people who know that OCR is the illegitimate love child of steeplechase and It's a Knockout.
Ian, my friend, welcome to the Swift Half again. How are you?
I'm great, Alan. Thanks once again for inviting me to this pub. I can't believe after, over 2 years, I can still get through the door.
Actually, I bet we must be coming up to the 3-year anniversary of the Swift Half being open. It must be very close.
It must be. We're not paying attention to these kind of anniversaries, and they all come at once because of the way we launch a show. It's always around about January time where you get the UKOCR anniversary for the podcast. You also get the UKHXR, usually the second to last weekend in January. And yeah, Swift Half, I can't remember when we launched it, so we probably could just divide the show number by 3 and that would tell us by 52, and that will tell us how many years.
I think this is 158, so then we've gone past it.
We must have gone 56, maybe.
Yeah, that's what so we've been open for 3 years and we missed it. We didn't have a birthday dance or a song or anything.
No, we just have to celebrate on 200. That can be the next one, which is coming quite rapidly, actually.
Coming very rapidly. I can't believe that, when we actually started it, we're still going, if I'm honest. I just can't believe we're still going. But we are.
No, and our 3 listeners can't believe it too, but they keep listening each and every week.
And
we
it's
love
down to them 3 listeners that we keep going to, because we just want to keep them 3 listeners happy.
Yeah. Well, I need to find out who's listening in Belgium. I need to find out. Every single week, we still get that download from Belgium, and I have still no idea who it is. And we'll keep going until we figure it out.
It is up. Tell us. I like that. What have you been up to this week? Well, first of all, let's have what we're drinking. I'm asking what you're drinking. What are you drinking tonight? Because I know you like to go to get your meal deals and that, but where have you gone?
Well, this time it's actually from a Morrison's meal deal. So sorry for those of you who like your Tesco's, but I went to Morrison's last week. I got a mango Rubicon, which is, it's Rubicon that tastes like mango. It actually tastes like mango beer, but without the beer.
Isn't Rubicon like cordial or squash or whatever people want to call it?
No, it's just a pop. It's kind of like a Fanta type thing. In fact, at one point, you could only really get it in the corner shops. It was one of them exotic cans, wasn't it? But you could only just get next to the red cola as well. If you remember red cola,
it's not fizzy though, is it? Is it fizzy?
Kind of fizzy, not very fizzy, but yeah, It's a little bit fizzy. It's a lot flatter than other things. But yeah, it used to be very hard to get hold of, and then they went mainstream. It's like that band that you used to see play in that horrible pub where you wiped your feet on the way out of, and then they're playing stadium tours, and that's what Rubicon have done.
So it's like the Oasis of pop.
Exactly. It is like the Oasis of pop. Speaking of which, I almost drank Oasis, but I had that last night. What about you? What are you drinking?
Well, I'm on alcohol free. So this weekend, I've done some very long shifts at work all last week. And on Saturday, I was on my way home and I said to Paul, I said, I need to get a drink. I want something to drink, just to thing. And as you know, I'm trying to stay off the beer as much as I can. So I went to a new off license that I'd never been to. Or beer off, as we call them near us, and they add some alcohol free, and this is like it's called Freedom, so FREEDAMM. It's a non-alcoholic lager, and it's from Malta, and it's actually 0%, and it's really nice. You don't get that hangovery thing that you do with some non-alcoholic drinks, so it's really, really good. So I've been drinking this all week. £10 for a case of 24. Tell you from Yorkshire without telling you from Yorkshire.
Exactly. Speaking of deals, and this is going to be out of date by the time this comes out, so I don't know why I'm mentioning it, but I saw a couple of days before we recorded this on the 1st of March that Brewdog were doing 29 beers for £29. And I was very, very tempted, but I resisted.
Is the world going off Brewdog? Because I seem to have gone off it a little bit. I don't know. I just that everywhere I go now, it seems to be everyone's offering Brewdog, and I think I had some Elvis juice about a month ago, and it just didn't taste the same as it did before. So I don't know what. I haven't had Brewdog for a while now.
I do wonder, yeah, whether people have moved on. In fact, they were an early adapter in the UK of the craft beer, weren't they? They weren't the first. There have been plenty of craft beer places before. And to be fair, we used to call them real ales. And yes, Kieran McFoy, I did just say that. You can correct me later. I know there's differences, but
Cask conditioned.
I'm sure there's differences. But having beer that actually had taste to it isn't a new thing.
No.
Even though most of us used to live on Foster's, or if you're a posh, Budweiser. Do you remember them days?
Oh, I do, yeah. I do. It was either, it was Foster's or Budweiser. Was something we had Carling, I think, in some pubs.
Yeah, you had Carling, you had Carlsberg as well, and Heineken was seen as a bit exotic as well back in the day. And no, it's rare you'd go to a pub and order that, would you? You just order what they happen to have, which actually has taste to it.
And there's a new one coming out now. Well, it's not new; it's been out a while. But Madri seems to be in every pub that you go in now in Yorkshire. Every pub I've been to recently, it seems to have Madri on the top rather than Stella. It's gone to Madri.
So is that kind of like replace Peroni as the lager you drink if you're not really a beer person, but you like to pretend that you are?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's one of them lagers, isn't it? Like they always have a strong one on, don't they? And it seems to be like Peroni, or they've had Stella, or some export, Carling export, Carlsberg export. Some places, everywhere I go now, it seems to be this Madri. It's nice. I've actually had a pint once, and it wasn't so bad. But yeah, that seems to be taking over up here now.
That's an interesting thing, and we've really gone off track here. But do you remember when Carling was Carling Black Label?
Oh yeah, well, weren't it Carling Black Label first?
Yeah, how amazing were those adverts back in the day?
They were. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember when I was like 12 or 13, well, even younger than that, going to the off license and getting my mum and dad's beer, going down to the shop. They sent me down to the shop for 4 cans and coming back with Carling Black Label.
Back then, they just trusted that you weren't going round the backs to drink it, didn't they? Because you could go and buy your mum and dad's ciggies as well, couldn't you?
It's your mum and dad's ciggies, anything. Mum and dad used to give me the money to go to the shop and get me whatever they wanted. I don't think they never sold spirits to me. My mum and dad never asked me to get any spirits, but I don't think they probably would have sold spirits. But yeah, you could get, you go in and say, I've got 4 cans of lager for my dad. And they go, yeah, no problems.
I'm also thinking cigarettes. I've never smoked, but I used to work in a shop and I'd sell them. And I remember the cheapest cigarettes for I want to say for a 10-pack when I worked was just under £2, give or take. I think it was 1.92. I want to say it was Regal Blue or something like that.
Yeah.
I heard on the radio today that when they put cigarettes up again in the next budget, a 20-pack, so what would have probably been £4 back in the day, a 20-pack now, Alan, £16.
Yeah, I've seen that. Someone I work with smokes, and he's constantly complaining that he's paying. I think he's paying £13 for a pack of 20 now. And I said, well, why are you smoking? And
you can get a decent meal in some pubs for that. Not exactly full a la carte, but it's edible. I can't imagine why someone would spend £16 on a pack of fags when you could have a tasty meal.
I know. I had a lovely meal on Sunday at a pub in High Bradfield, just out of Sheffield, if anyone wants to go that way. It's called the Old Orange. You've got a book. I had a farmhouse grill. I got chicken. I got gammon, Cumberland sausage, bit of bacon, onion rings. I didn't eat it all. It was far too much for me. £18. You know what I mean? It was like a bargain.
It was. Did you get a doggy bag afterwards, or did you just?
I didn't know. I've never wanted to get doggy bags, me. I've never been anyone to like say, "Oh, can I put that in a doggy bag?" I should really, because I could fetch the meat home for Wilson. Wilson would stuff his face with whatever I gave him.
It's a weird thing. We don't really do that over here, but in America, they just kind of take it for granted that you might want to take your food home with you. So they'll bring you trays so you can do it at the table. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I think when I went, I think I just got someone just brought it to me. I've left some meal, some steak or something, and they just literally brought a doggy bag back with it in it. There's rest of your steak. I was like, what? Rest of my steak?
Which is great. You tend to find it a lot more in Indian or maybe Chinese restaurants. They tend to, and to be fair, most of the time you need it because you always order too much. You absolutely always order too much.
Yeah.
Right, should we move to some OCR news? Or should we talk about just general running news? Because there's a few running topics.
There is a few running topics. I've got a good one, which is Christopher Morales-Williams, 400-meter indoor world record that he did. So he's a Canadian, 19-year-old Canadian, and he ran a 44:49 in Arkansas. So big championship, indoor championship. He ran a 44.49 seconds, 400 meters, which is the world record. It beat someone who ran the previous year, called Morales-Williams. Yeah. Called Kieran Clement, who ran a 44:57 at the same track. Yeah. In 2005. However, it can't be classed as a world record because the blocks that he started on don't comply with World Athletics regulations. That's good.
What did you have booster pads on?
I don't know. This is a world indoor event. You would think they'd get something basic like that, right? We're talking about blocks. We're not talking about putting springs under the whatever they're on the asphalt. It's not asphalt anymore, is it? But the track, they're not putting springs under that. It's a track. It's an indoor track. How can not having the right starting blocks?
I have no clue. And we should say it's the SEC Indoor Championship, which is a college conference. And Alan, I do find the English language fascinating. It was in Arkansas, was the place, but it is spelled Arkansas as you pronounce. It's one of them that if you don't, the way we learn with phonetics, if you've never actually come across that state before, that's exactly how you'd explain it. And you'd probably come across Arkansas because do you remember Wacky Races?
Yes, I was going to say I remember Arkansas, but I never knew it was spelled like that.
Yeah, that's how you spell Arkansas. Yeah, it looks nothing like what you'd expect.
Oh. That's like aluminium.
Yes.
Where do you get aluminum? It's aluminium.
But yeah, so I feel it's so gutting for him because 44.5 seconds to run 400 meters, Alan. That's just unbelievable.
Well, that's Kieran's, who owns the world record at the minute, but Chris ran 44:49, so it beat it by 0.08. Not a lot, but it's at 400 meters. That's a lot. I mean, that's 11.13 seconds per 100 meters. I couldn't run 50 meters in 11 seconds, I don't think.
No, me neither. Me neither. And while we're talking about running news, this came up. Did you see this about the Bermuda Half Marathon?
I haven't, no.
I'll explain it. Basically, the Bermuda Half Marathon has banned athletes from taking part who are not from Bermuda or who have not lived in Bermuda for 6 months to kind of prevent race tourism. So people just turning up and winning what's a massive race for the local Bermuda population.
Okay, I get that. But usually when we have big races like that, you would normally want big runners to come there. You know what I mean? You'd want your Kipchoges and things like that to run. So what, do they not have invitations to them type of athletes, or is it just straight up you've got to be Bermudan or living in there to run that event?
Yeah, it looks like from a technical point of view, you could still run it if you wanted to. You just don't get prize money and you don't get recognised as the winner.
Okay, I get that. That's a bit interesting.
It's a fascinating thing. Like you say, maybe they just don't need the tourists to come and do a half marathon because Bermuda's nice anyway. It's It's not exactly the Rochdale Half Marathon, which they hope people flock from miles. I don't think it's adding that much to the local economy. And why not celebrate the best Bermudan athletes?
Yeah, it's a great idea. It really is a great idea. It just like a country that lives on tourism doesn't want tourism. It just seems a
Yeah.
little bit, yeah.
But I guess maybe they've done the sums and found out it wasn't bringing that much money. So maybe athletes were just turning up, running the race, and then leaving.
Yeah. And this is a way of probably giving something back to the local community as well, isn't it? You know, if they're saying, okay, so if you're a Bermudan, you can run here and you can win prize money and things like that. Keeps it in the country, keeps the money in the country.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, the prize money would then go to someone who will spend it in Bermuda, or you'd expect them to.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, they've become a Patreon of this show and then they can send us some money.
And they're not in the EU, are they, Bermuda?
I don't believe so. It's a bit far from the EU.
So they're fine. They don't have to do under EU regulations.
Nope, they don't. They can just do basically whatever they want.
I like that. This weekend, did you watch the Alula? Did you watch Alula? Tough Mudder?
I caught bits of it. We'll come down to what I was doing this weekend later on, because I was at an event. I had the Decker Strong, which we can discuss later on, I think. I caught bits of it. I'm kind of glad that wasn't going to be my weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to admit, God bless Matt B. Davis and ORM. He did the best he could. I've seen some behind the scenes footage, Ian, and they had cameras on obstacles. They somehow just could not get them to upload to YouTube. So all we saw was the finish line, and it was like, what's that thing? Have a sweet. Oh no, you're too late. You're not having one.
Yeah, they had everything set up. I've spoken to Matt about this. In fact, I've chatted to him on the record about it. Whether he releases that as a podcast, we'll find out. But without spoiling it too much, they had it all ready to go, and then a couple of things just didn't work out. So they had to make a decision, and it wasn't going to work the way they wanted to. So what they decided was, well, that Steadicam at the end would work, and they could definitely get that going. So they decided they'd go with that, and Matt every hour would come on and chat and basically update people on how everything was going. It's probably a little bit disappointing, because who just wants to watch the finish line of an obstacle race at any time other than when the obstacle race was finishing?
Yeah. I kept fair play to them, because Matt kept putting on next update at so-and-so time. So there's a little banner coming on. So I was setting my alarm just so I could then click back on to get to the banner to see who was winning and so forth and that. Yeah.
Well, if there's a silver lining in the whole thing, it did allow Matt to be quite creative, as we saw on the ORM stories and the ORM feed. He got to go and speak to some of the athletes as they were coming through. So yeah, he didn't work out how I'm sure they wanted it to, but Matt's a pro. He made the best of a bad situation, and yeah, it's a shame for all of us who watched it. But from what I understand, Alan, the actual racers, they had a whale of a time.
They certainly did, and we've got two coming to join us right now. Becky Dassas, welcome to Swift Half. How are you?
Hey.
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Good.
Excited.
Looking very tanned. Have you been anywhere nice this last weekend?
Where have you been, Das?
Just Saudi Arabia and Dubai. Nowhere that exotic.
It has been hot and sunny.
It's been great.
Even though the pictures look a little cloudy, it was definitely like everyone was sunburnt, apart from we got sun cream sponsor.
Yeah, we've had a touch of heat acclimation pre-race weekend as well. A couple of weeks back, a few weeks back in Lanzarote, just trying to prep for the race. And that's pretty hot as well. So
a nice winter so far.
Yeah, not a bad February. Can't complain.
Lanzarote obviously worked, and we'll come to that in a minute, to the results and that. But well done at the weekend. I'm not going to say I got FOMO. I was actually crying when I was seeing you guys over there. I was like, oh, I want to be over there, and it looked amazing. So you're over there for TM Infinity. Let's come to you first, Becky. Pre-race, what was your thoughts pre-race when you got over there?
So, I mean, I've never done a Tough Mudder Infinity. I think I've won about 5 Tough Mudders, but at the 10-mile distance, and I never really considered doing the longer one. And actually, I hadn't entered this race until maybe 10 days before. And so I did actually FOMO in, but there was, thoughts. But there was a lot of things that kind of had to happen for it to happen. Anyway, I like making things happen, so here I am. But before, because it was kind of like quite snowballing, like fast paced. I was really quite stressed beforehand, I'd say, like more stressed than I have been for other races. And it was, totally unknown, but I didn't have a lot of pressure either. So it was an adventure. But I like, to prepare and plan for these things. And there wasn't a whole lot of information. But I applied my little sports science brain and came up with like some fueling strategies for me and Das. And I think they worked out all right. So yeah, all kind of pulled it together. But yeah, it was the night before was hectic. There was a storm in the tent. So we were all like on the campsite right there in the middle of the desert outside of the town called Alula. And yeah, I don't think I got any sleep, like maybe 1 hour maximum. The night before.
Just to clarify, that was an actual storm. It wasn't just something bad happened in your tent. It was an actual storm.
Yeah, I think somebody actually lost their tent.
Yeah, it was really windy and raining in the desert.
It was good. It was great accommodation comparative to kind of Abu Dhabi. If anybody did Abu Dhabi a couple of years back, Spartan. But at the same token, you're still in a tent and it's windy and it's difficult to get a good night's sleep even in a really nice tent.
But the British racers woke up and thought, it's raining. We got this. Yeah. We're excited to do the obstacles in the rain because we were prepared for that. Yeah.
What was it like with the rain? Did it like just disappear into the sand or did it actually stop on? Did you see any puddles, anything like that?
There wasn't really any puddles apart from like the 3 water obstacles filled with ice and stuff. So we got wet enough. Like my feet were wet the whole time after the first lap. The first lap had no obstacles. But yeah, you didn't really feel like wet, like raining.
Cool. Let's Das, I mean, phenomenal result for you. 10th overall and that. What was your plan going into it? Did you think you was going to get right up there? Because I mean, there's some scalps you've took out. I can see some of the scalps you've took on there, and these are the who's who in OCR, and you're up there.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, of course, like pre-race, you can't help but look at the list of names on there, try and work out position-wise where you are amongst other racers. And I was looking at names from Worlds who finished ahead of me, but also there was a lot of big names that were at Tough Mudder that weren't at Worlds. Your Johns, Ryan, Mark Batras, Rylan Shadeg, lots, Austin Azar, lots of Americans, Anthony Concord, 2-time US national champion. And these guys none of these were actually at Worlds in Belgium, FISO Worlds. So there were a lot of people in that list that I knew were, I felt were going to be faster and were going to place higher than I did. But in a way, it's kind of nice to be the underdog. I mean, if you look at like the UK, the OCR report, there was at least 20 big names mentioned on there, and obviously I wasn't one of those, and I beat half the people on that post. So there's less pressure definitely when you're going into a race as an unknown, and you just run your race. You can't control how fit the other guys are, or who else is racing. You can just turn up, in the best shape you possibly can. And that's really all I ask for, and that's all I ask myself for. And spent a good 3 months of training really hard for this. After the marathon I ran in December in Valencia, I managed to just get to the start line injury free, and then since then it was at least like I said, a good 3-month training block of 100k a week. And thanks to Becky, a lot of kind of good insight into heat acclimation. I was training a lot on the bike, in a heated room, did a bit of training in Lanzarote and just got to the start line in good shape and ran my race.
And what a race you ran as well.
Yeah.
Was there any surprises out there that you think either of you any come up against any surprises while you was out there, like during the race?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard, wouldn't you say? It's hard to know how to pace a race like this unless you've run ultras before. I think both of us ran further than we've ever run in our lives. It's hard to pace a race. And again, like I looked at people that were fast that I knew that I could kind of stay with or run close to kind of find a way to pace the race, you see.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because the people who have the experience in like world's toughest mudder, like the last two men's winners, Das beat, and so they have that experience. Like Katie Knight, Chris Rogosli, they have that experience of winning 24-hour races, but those people didn't win this race, so it was faster. Like Nicole Miracle, who's never run an ultra, was winning most of the women's race until she lost it to Alyssa towards the end, and then Alyssa put in an extra lap. And yeah, it was on par with the top 10 men. So actually you had to be quite fast as well. So the pitting, like the pit stops really came into it because you couldn't have help inside the pit, but you were still allowed help. So like Nicole, for example, had both her parents there who were running across the course with a call box giving her stuff. And like Mark Battress's wife, Natalia, was doing similar things. And so that actually made a difference. Like
made a huge difference.
I was stopping for like 4 minutes to do my science, my experiment thing that I was doing there. And Das noticed pretty early on, like how long it took to catch up.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, the good thing about this race, because it was laps, there's opportunities to learn along the way. I was quite fortunate. The first couple of laps I ran were with Nicole and Austin. They both pitted a lot quicker than I thought they would. I was expecting to spend a couple of minutes in the pit zone refueling, and I got the fuel down me because we had that well prepped. But as soon as I pitted, they were already off. They had like 30 seconds a minute on me, and I think I noticed very early on that it took me about 3K to catch Nicole back up, just from that little bit of lost time in the pit where she ran straight through and I was spending maybe a bit too long. So yeah, it definitely sped me up later on in the race, which helped my strategy. Again, it was like experience. They're obviously a lot more experienced, so I was trying to learn off the other racers. And it's also nice when you run from the back sometimes and you build into the race. So every time you pass a big name, it gives you a huge boost. It was Austin, and then it was Richard Hynek, and then Anthony, and it just gives you such a big boost when you're seeing names that you can't imagine overtaking. Yeah, it helped massively. Yeah,
I didn't mind being lapped by John Alban a couple of times.
Oh yeah, that was nice too. Yeah,
through the rocks together.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Even when Das lapped me, that was quite nice.
Yeah, it was really nice to see like a fellow Brit out there, and yeah, it's likewise. Like when he passed, I think everyone was kind of almost happy to see him pass you, because he was the first person that lapped me, and it was such a long time before I saw Ryan. I expected Ryan to come straight past afterwards, and John had massive,
so early on.
Yeah, he had a huge lead.
Yeah.
So it's
didn't
really
need to do another lap, even though he could have.
Really good to see.
Yeah.
One thing I was shocked at, was the distance exactly 5 miles?
It was nearly 10K on my watch.
It was 10K, almost to the
10 and a tiny bit, so it was pretty even.
Yeah, because I think the first runners came through without any obstacles at 37 minutes, and I was like thinking, I would have expected,
percent sand.
Yeah, that's that's really quick. That 37 minutes in the sand.
The first like 2 or 3K was uphill, like a gradual incline with a couple of undulations, and then there's a really soft, sandy, like deep patch, which I found really difficult to run through that. Like on a few laps, I was walking through there, and then the second half of the lap was much faster, a little bit downhill, a little bit harder, and you knew you were heading back. But it was really like remote. It was pretty cool. Like the backdrop looked like something out of a movie.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was fast, definitely.
What's your average pace?
I think it was like around 5:30s in an obstacle race on sand. That's pretty quick. Quicker than I expected, to be honest, because it didn't feel that fast. Not the first half of the course anyway, because of the soft sand. But then the second half was a little bit more compact. Yeah, I think you had to try and not overcook it in the first half, and I was really wary of that. So probably could have run faster in the beginning, but yeah, who knows what would have happened? Like I might have blown up. So
There were 5 penalty obstacles as well, but that didn't really factor into the race.
no, I don't think anybody had any penalties, which is a
Not in the
shame. It
serious
wasn't
competition.
a little bit more technical.
They
What
were
was
hard
the
work.
time?
Like they were big obstacles. Like some of them were taller, one of those like blast wall type things where you have to climb over really high beams. It was really windy as well. Going over the top of that and like going from one beam to the next one down was higher than my toes to like reaching above the head with my arms straight. Like it was really exposed and a little bit scary. And the walls were big and the ramp was decent.
But it was the first time ever that I looked forward to Arctic Enema. It was like really, it was really nice to kind of.
It was really icy, like
in there.
solid
Yeah, really icy.
all day.
Yeah,
Impressive.
it managed to keep it cold, which is good.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the obstacles because there has been some chatter online that they weren't tough enough, they weren't technical enough, and I guess the thing is, it's Tough Mudder. What kind of rigs did they have? Did they have a variation of Funky Monkey there?
No, I think it was difficult to get, all the materials there. Like the Arabia events have had like 3 already this season or this year. And I think they're going to have like a series next year, like a series of races, and maybe they'll have more then. But the only suspension obstacle was rings. There was 9 rings over water. They were wooden rings, and in the wind, because the wind really picked up to like it was gusting like 46 kilometers an hour. I measured it, and they were really flying around everywhere. But it wasn't hard. That was actually one of the more relaxing obstacles. But some of them were like a lot of effort, like the tubes and the crawls. There was a lot of crawls, and on that sand grit, like your knees and your forearms, like you weren't allowed to roll. You literally had to crawl, and they were shouting at you. And the nets were hard, and you haven't got like a lot of protection. But that's why John was wearing his leggings, of course.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, if there was more obstacles, it would have suited us more. Maybe it would have maybe would have come up maybe a little bit higher in the field, because there were a few kind of trail runners that did really well.
But they didn't win apart from John.
But they didn't win apart from John. That's right.
Like Natalia, she was 11th, and she's a professional trail runner. And in the men's, the guy first V40 guy, what did he come overall?
Yeah,
he's a trail runner.
French trail runner. Yeah, he was like fantastic. He ran really well. I think he came 5th or 6th. Michael Gask.
The Anthony
Anthony Kunkel. He thought he was going to win. He was in contention to win. He really backed himself and probably didn't run the race he wanted to run. He was
by underestimating the amount the obstacles take out of you.
I think even though the obstacles weren't particularly technical, if you had to kind of get over them in a way where you need your legs. Like a lot of the walls, I was trying to muscle up over and not use my legs and not lift my legs too much, because there's always the kind of risk of cramp after 4, 5, 6 hours. That's the cramp can easily set in. So I was trying to use my upper body as much as I could on those obstacles, which you don't always do. Sometimes you just fly over stuff and you'll heel hook and just get over as quick as you can. But I kind of did the opposite. I was just trying to really preserve my legs on the obstacles, just use my upper body and just trying to keep your legs as fresh as possible for like potentially 9 hours, right? I think we ran about 8.5 hours.
I was 8:43.
Yeah.
That's what John's always been good at, Alan. You remember this, that what separates John from a lot of runners is how efficient he is after getting over an obstacle. So he'll head up a wall and he'll be running before his feet have actually touched the ground, and stuff like that helps on a course like this. Could I ask about how it felt within the camp? Was there an international flair? Did it feel like an OCR Worlds or a World's Toughest?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like it was like a chartered flight almost. Like it felt like you're in the airport and suddenly everyone's getting on the same flight. Well, we came from Dubai and we were there with, Red Bull athlete Thomas Van Tonder, and then Katie Knight comes over, and then there's all this Ida and Leon.
Yeah.
Everyone's there on the same plane, and you're like, wow. And then you're on the shuttle bus, and John's next.
Yeah.
And then...
See, that was actually the moment, because the day before we looked at all of the previous results and trying to work out where we could potentially place. And yeah, you see all these big names, but they're on paper. And we got through into the departure lounge, and like Becky said, first thing she said was, let's see if we can spot any athletes. And then we saw the Red Bull cap, and there was Thomas, and we sat down, had a good chat with Thomas, and Leon turned up. And then as we boarded the bus to get onto the plane, we were just surrounded by like all of these huge names. I looked at Becky and I was like, oh my God,
We actually had to race.
shit's just got real. I was like, oh, it was the first moment when I actually felt a little bit of kind of
And then
like butterflies, nerves.
on the campsite, like everyone was there the whole time. John had booked an Airbnb after his Abu Dhabi experience. You know, the tents there weren't great, so he'd learned from that. And Henriette had booked him a nice place to stay, which paid off because he probably managed to have a good sleep.
Yeah.
But we had like the meals were like included in everything, so everyone was having those together, and you just went along with your voucher, and they were really decent. And there was like good music, and then like the hospitality is excellent there, and the showers are really fancy.
It was weird. Even the tents, the glamping tents were amazing. I mean, you can't help the weather, right? And the food was fantastic. There were big portions.
And of course, we had like Will and Megan, and they both ran 50 kilometers, and it was like really nice to spend time with them, and we all got excited and really impressed. You know,
yeah, great atmosphere. I'm definitely sold. I'm contemplating maybe another Tough Mudder as well.
Alan,
the series one.
Alan, I know exactly though what Ryan and Lindsay said when we first saw Becky.
Go on.
They said, "Oh my God, you're Becky Neal from Who's Hot, and is Will here too?"
Exactly.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Exactly
that. I mean, Matt B. Davis was like, "They're
Oh yeah, I forgot you had Matt out there too.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier on that you were like a little bit in awe. You mentioned that you're a bit in awe about the athletes around you, but I mean, Becky 14, that's what's 10. You're in that company. You've now evidenced that you should be in that company on a regular basis. These people are going to be looking at you now and going, "Look, there's Becky." You know,
I can't hide any longer.
I quite like being the underdog, to be honest.
Not anymore.
Yeah, we just looked at the full set of results, and Austin he was 23 world's toughest, and DJ Fox was 22 world's toughest, and they're 11th and 12th. I've just knocked them out of the top 10, which is like just crazy, blows my mind.
Yeah, and I was on like the same number of laps as a lot of those ladies that I really look up to, so it is really kind of reassuring. It feels like you're meant to be there, and everyone is like friendly and down to earth, like the normal people. Like we always talk about how the community is really great, and especially it's actually really nice to have this competition Gov Games in Dubai straight afterwards as well, because there are a lot of people that are here, and it just really reinforces that like community and like international athlete kind of thing.
Yeah, and also some really, really nice athletes. Like there are certain personas on kind of on the socials that you get a certain vibe off them, but you know, you meet them in real life and you don't realize how nice they are. Very respectful. Just had a chat with Rylan earlier and a few of the others, and just all really nice guys, really nice community. It's been an amazing experience, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to ask one question. Your last lap. I've been told on the last lap that on the dunk wall they poured as much ice as possible into it.
Yeah.
Did you both experience that?
Oh yeah.
I think I nearly headbutted an iceberg.
Yeah, on the first lap I definitely headbutted an iceberg, like crushed ice, but like together.
They had like a Luton van next to the pit that they were, I guess, kind of systematically filling up throughout the day. And by the last lap, they had all this ice left, and I think they just decided to just chuck it all in rather than driving back with it. And it got icier, didn't it?
So like you needed, because I was actually measuring my core body temperature with a temperature pill inside me, like deep in my body. And I got hot, like even though the temperature was about 23 degrees. And of course, like when the sun was out, it was like felt hotter, and I was getting hot, and I wasn't running nearly as fast as these guys. So those water obstacles were really actually quite good at cooling us down, although my feet were like really wet the whole time, which is
I never actually thought I would want actually pull myself down in a race. It's almost always the opposite. I mean, I love the heat. And I think even in the UK, when I've won races and performed better, it's been in the hotter races, whether it be OCR games or Worlds this year. So I was looking forward to the heat and the distance.
I think the British athletes take all the weather in their stride always though. Like
yeah.
when wind picked up, I was like, oh, it's just like running on the prom, like on the beach into the wind, like I do every week.
Yeah.
I didn't really think much of it, and then you finish, and all the other people are like, "Oh my God, I can't breathe! It's so windy. I had to tape my mouth shut."
You don't mind a bit of rain either, because we're used to training on wet obstacles, right? So
Put your sunglasses on and carry on. But yeah, crawling in that wind with the sand was quite harsh.
I noticed that you were wearing sleeves as well, Becky. Was that to protect your arms from the
crawling.
sand while you was crawling?
Yeah, I just got like, I put up with it for a bit, and I thought, why am I doing this? I'm just going to put them on, because I didn't want to be too hot to begin with, because they're quite thick, those ones. So towards the end, I thought I need to go a bit faster, because I only had I didn't really know what my I had no information. I didn't know what my lap times were, because I was pressing lap on my watch, but it wasn't really working properly, and it's hard to remember all the stuff. And there's no leaderboard that I saw. I'd never knew what position I was in or anything. So all I knew was at the end I had to run faster than I had done, like in order to ensure that my last lap counted. Otherwise, there would be no point in running that last 10K, and I would have finished with 60 instead of 70 kilometers. So I knew I had to run a lot faster. So, like, I think 2 laps from the end, I put my sleeves on and tried to go a bit harder.
Yeah,
throwing my body at it.
Becky ran so well. I think if you didn't have to pit for so long, you probably would have done even better, because you spent quite a while
Probably take
in the
half an
transition
hour.
areas. But the first time I saw Becky running around, like, I could just tell she was running well. She was in the zone. You always love a Tough Mudder, don't you?
I love Tough Mudder.
Yeah. And we've both been marathon training as well.
A lot of us seen the end video. So first of all, that's, I mean, the walk. Have you practiced that walk? Because I mean, that's how a duck walks. That was like the most funniest walk I've seen.
We look like a pair of penguins, but honestly, 2 days in, and we've both recovered so well. This morning we ran up the Burj Khalifa. It's 160 flights,
nearly 3,000 steps.
Yeah, and felt absolutely fine, like feel completely recovered. So, but the day after, I was seriously. The day after, the moment I stopped, I just seized up. It was. We had a funny walk.
Yeah, it was like we worked hard. It was quite emotional at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'm
proud.
I don't think I've ever been that emotional after a race. Yeah, it was quite emotional. Yeah,
that did come across, and that come across in the nicest possible way. You know, it was great to see you both there hugging, and you know.
It was nice it was amazing to share the experience. You know, I can remember back to my first ever World Championships. In the 9 years ago, going out to Squaw Valley and finishing the race and being on my own and just having no one to celebrate it with, nobody who really understood this kind of crazy niche sport, and to finish and then see Becky finish and experience it together was it's just amazing. It's like just a great memory that I'll never forget. Yeah.
Amazing. Ian, do you have any questions for them before we let them shoot back off to their little break over in the sun?
Well, I just want to know you finished it. Presumably, you're just going to relax, just take advantage of everything that the Middle East has to offer.
Relax.
It's paradise out there. What's next? Jacuzzi, etc.
Have you seen his Strava? I think what we're maximizing is the free food from the Gov Games. 3 meals a day. That's what we're maximizing down the pool.
So tell the listeners what you're doing next. Well, is it this weekend?
Yeah.
Well, we began this morning.
So we're doing the Gov Games, which is started in 2018 by the Prince of Dubai. It started off as a government competition with like the fire service versus the police, and then they started inviting other governments, the LAPD and stuff. And then they had a community section that came in a couple of years ago, and last year they did Battle of the Cities, so they invited athletes from cities around the world. This is the second edition, so we're representing Team Oxford. There's also Team London. So there's the two UK teams. There's 28 cities battling out. It's like the flagship competition. There's also a junior one. We should really look at that next year. It's for local schools mostly. And so basically it's like a ninja competition outdoors, big obstacles, but they're teamwork ones. So we have 6 people on our team. We've got Beth Lodge, Toy Matthews, Aaron Pullen, Shiloh Dehaney, and me and Dath. And you get to choose 5 people to do each obstacle, and it's based on points and some complicated scoring and stuff. There's only 4 in the final. That's on Sunday. So we're all competing on Saturday, but we did a bonus challenge today, which was going as fast as you can, attached to each other, 5 people attached to each other up the Burj Khalifa, which is like 860 meters or something, which is nearly as high as the highest place in England.
Quite a rare opportunity, right?
Yeah, less than like 200 people have ever done that,
Wow.
which is smaller than Everest.
Wow.
How well did you do?
Oh, we did it in 41 minutes.
Yeah.
So we didn't get full points, but we got like I think 9 points or something. So yeah, we got some bonus points for the challenge, but it was hard work. Like Shy and Das and Tommy were finding it easy.
That lift must be slow to go that high. 41 minutes to get to the top. I'd have expected a much faster lift in my eyes.
I know. We got the lift down actually, but yeah, the view was great.
Is there any way of following this online? Like you said, Saturday, is it going to be?
There's a live stream on YouTube. Live stream on YouTube each day. It starts on I think the government women's teams are on Thursday, government men's teams on Friday. They already had some of the community qualifications, and that'll be on Friday as well. And then Saturday and Sunday is Battle of the Cities, and it'll be on YouTube. But they've also got loads of they've already done an edit from today at the Burj, which we are in if you want to see.
Yeah, Gov Games
On Instagram.
as well.
Awesome, absolutely awesome. Alan, anything else?
No, I'm gonna let them get off because they need rest. If they're doing good games all week, they need some rest, and I don't want them letting down the UK team. I mean, 10th and 14th have already let us down this weekend, haven't they? You know what I mean? Only joking, guys. You have done the UK proud. And I'm jealous that you're doing the Gov Games when people in the UK are going to be down at nuts, freezing themselves off in the lovely cold while you're over there.
We've done our time.
Yeah.
We'll be back for sure, but we've done our fair share of it.
Oh dear.
Thank you, guys. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Do you want to give a shout out to anyone while you're here before you go? I know you always give shout outs, Becky, to everyone, but is anyone over there or anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Well, I mean, big respect to everyone that came to do the Infinity Race from the UK. There was quite a few other people, I think, representing some of the sponsors. But yeah, of course, Will and Megan did great. And I had some nice snacks from Precision Hydration and some nice sun cream from Life Jacket Skin.
And then Duo. Big up, James. Yeah, kept us going. And of course, all of the Phoenix team back home sending their love and messages, massive support from them as well. A big thank you to anyone that's sent me a message. We were off the grid for a while. If I didn't respond to anyone, huge thanks. Yeah, seen all of them and really appreciate the support.
We know you're just too famous, no Dassos. Me and Alan had to go through your agent to get you in tonight.
Is that
so
me?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I disappear for a while. I can't be named.
He needs his underdogness back.
Yeah.
He wants to be Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
So.
Anyone wants to contact Dassos going forward, you've got to go through Becky's agent. There's a 10% fee for everything.
Yeah, I'm only 40.
I'm done. This is retirement.
Will we see, before we go, will we see you? Because normally we see you running much shorter distances. Now you've done this, and I mean, you got third fastest in the 40 age groups. I know you're over 40. I'm not going to ask you your age, but you're over 40. And we see as people get older, they do tend to move into longer distances. Are we going to see a gradual move for you, Das, into longer distance running?
I think so. I'm still going to do the regular stuff, but definitely this year with the endurance series, because I've been putting the miles in anyway. Like I said, I'm training. We're both training for London, so I'll keep the mileage up, and I guess it will lend itself for the kind of endurance season. So I probably will jump into a few of those, Oblivion X, maybe another TM later in the year and in November, we'll see. But I will be running the regular UK League as well. I just FOMO into everything. It's probably not ideal, but that's just the way
I'm
I
still considering the 100 meters.
yeah,
You're not.
I enjoy the sport, so you'll probably see me at all different races anyway.
Cool, guys. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. So, Alan, we were just chatting to Becky and Dassos about how they went. But can you believe in that, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes that we were talking to them, we didn't actually go through the results. Do you have them by any chance?
I actually do. I have got them up. Shall we do top 10?
Yeah, let's do top 10 for the men, top 14 for the women.
I like that. And so, first of all, if you don't know, John Albon won. Second, Ryan Atkins, Mark Battras, which I think a lot of people had in very, very similar order. But then we had some surprises. So Luke Pesca-Golendrung, I'm saying that right, Mikhail Gask, Pavel Herdina, Daniel Garcia, Jayshi Reed, Elmer King, and Dassus Ganella featured out the top 10. As Dassos mentioned there, some great names that he took, Austin Azar, DJ Falk, George Kunkel, and a host of others. So massive well done to Dassos. And
do you know what was funny, Alan?
What's that?
Was that you are right. I think that top 3 was predicted by many, but I bet you could tell whether someone was English, from United Kingdom, so British, or whether they were American, based on who they had at number 1 in their poll.
Yeah, you're quite right. There would have been exactly the same. It was good to see that John came back and showed that he can still do the obstacles. Although Becky and Dassa said there was nothing really challenging out there, you still got to have technical proficiency to get through them and not do any challenges. And I did sort of hear him on Matt B. Davis's discussion at the end, where he said that he did every obstacle, even the electroshock at the end. Although the wind was blowing, it became a little bit easier. It did do the electroshock, which is great. That's what you want, isn't it? From someone who's going out there, a world champion, and someone's going out and win this race. You want them to do every obstacle.
And like I said earlier to Becky and Dassos, if you want to improve as an obstacle racer, that's the best thing you can learn from John. 1, get stuck in and do them all. Don't take the easy way and pounce it. 2, just your proficiency coming off the obstacle is just as important as your proficiency during the obstacle. It makes so much difference.
I saw him at a toughest race once. I've seen him at quite a few races, but I always remember one part of toughest race, and it was the quarter pipe section. And he ran up to the quarter pipe and he didn't break stride. He didn't go up to it, stop, and then run fast. He didn't sort of run up to then sprint at end or anything like that. He didn't break his stride. He just ran up to it. He hit the top. He went over, and he was already running. As he was jumping off the end. He was down the steps and jumping and running. It's seconds. We talk about seconds. If he saves 5 seconds on that, and there is 30 obstacles, times that by 5. That's exactly, it's 2.5 minutes. You save yourself 2.5 minutes.
No, exactly, Alan, exactly. And should we move on to the top 14 women?
Yeah, I know you're going to give me these because these are not the easiest names. So, and I've got to admit, I only got one person in these top 5 actually, and that was 5th. But Elisa Petrova, 9 laps, absolutely fantastic. Then we had a host of people on 8 laps: Nicole Mericle, Yanka Pepova, Esther Horta Bagiova, Lindsay Webster, Ulrike Evenson, Chris Rogloski, and Petra Arvella. All of those lots, top 8, all got 8. And then on 7 laps, we had Sabrina Diallo, Katie Knight, Natalia Mastrota, Beatrice Rubio Lastra, Dina Blegg from Blegmitz, and Becky Neal. So, Becky was absolutely fantastic. Did really, really well. A host of people after that, on there. She took a lot of names, but well done. Well done, everyone. Again, big shock.
No, well done. Should we go through teams, or is it not worth going through teams? I know there wasn't a lot of them. Should we just go maybe the first place for each team?
Shall we just do top three?
Top three then.
So in the teams of two, we had Team France won, Veerman Brown second, and Storm Egypt third, according to the stats that have come through. So yeah, that's a bit of a shock. Team France doing the business out there. And then in the team of four, as we mentioned on Rebecca and that, it was European Elite, Ajman team, and the A team. So I also have some fastest laps here. Do you want to know what some fastest laps were?
Yeah, tell us the fastest laps, because we had a hot lap, didn't we, early on with no obstacles, which for a 10K race seems a bit interesting, if that makes sense, because I imagine it would have been quite a quick lap.
It was. I've got the age group, so I'll give the 14 to 19-year age group. There was no women ran that, but some males did, and the fastest was Joshua Shadeg. Age group 20 to 29. In the men, Elmer King. The female was Esther Horta-Bagnova, which we mentioned earlier. 30 to 39, John Alban. And in the women's, Elisa Petrova. 40 to 49 was Michael Gask. Dassos got third fastest on that as well. And females was Andrea Stadler. And in the 50-plus age group, we had Abby Westifal. And in the women's was Dina Blegg. Now, overall, fastest lap, because that doesn't count, overall fastest lap in the men was Gregory Basilicchio, and the women was Ida Matilda Steensgaard.
Well done to all of them. And we're not going to go through all the prize money, but practically everyone we mentioned today is getting a nice bit of money from the organisers. So, yeah, well done to you. And again, we will drop the Bios a Beer link in the show notes, so feel free to share wealth.
Give you a shout out, buy us a beer.
There we go. There we go.
Oh gosh. We talked about mentioned nuts earlier on. Nuts this weekend, gonna be freezing cold.
It's almost snuck up on us a little bit, and March has generally, because the other day we have March annual reviews, and that email got sent out, and I received it. It was like, really? Annual reviews already? And yeah, no, it is actually March, listener. And people often say that, what is it? January has 600 days and February has about 13.
I prefer the next month. So we always get paid. So I always get paid on the very last day of the month. So this month it's the 29th of February. And now I've only got to wait exactly 31 days to my next payday, which is, so it's a bit longer. I've got it all wrong, Ian. It's February that I like best because I've got to go 28 days, or I'm going to get 29. Yeah. Oh, I've just realised now I've got a few extra days this month.
Yeah, and something else I learned, you didn't get paid extra for that extra day you worked.
Yeah, no, I didn't get paid any extra. That's a valid point, Ian. Why haven't I cottoned on to that?
Yeah, if you're salaried and you're not paid by the hour, you do not get paid any more money on a leap year.
Oh, Ian, I'm gutted. I've only just realised that. I'm from Yorkshire. They're not going to pay me for it. I've done a day's work and not being paid for it.
Yep, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Right, but yeah, Nuts is this weekend. And I think we're just doing the 7K and the 14K this year because it is a little bit cold. Good luck to absolutely everyone who's doing it. You've got Euro Champs as well, Alan. You can qualify for Euro Champs there. You need to wear a bib to identify you, and they're doing it. Did we do it like this last year, whereby they have like 4 additional qualifying obstacles, which are a bit more technical?
Yes, they did. Yeah. Yeah, last year when we went down, they had additional obstacles, a lot more technical. It was good last year. I think Mark Dixon built the course, if I remember rightly. He had a lot to do with it. And of course, last year it was a UKOCR series race as well.
It was indeed. And yeah, it looks, quite interesting. They've been putting some various build. They do a good job on their social medias, don't they? Given that we're a small team, and, they've not got the budget of a Tough Mudder or a High Rocks, but they do do a good thing. It's just little useful things on. Like a couple of days ago, they did a video of how to get to a car park. Just how cool is that?
Loved it. I love how Nuts put little things out like that, because the car park at Nuts is a fair distance. You've got a good, I would say about half a mile walk when we went last year, down to it. So yeah, it's quite easy to find. I love Nuts. It's a pity, and we didn't really touch on this in last Monday's podcast when we reminisced about some events, that the winter events are no longer there. There is, when I look at the winter events, there is none there. Nuts has got to be the only real winter event. Even nuclear that happens late in the year it's hit and miss on how cold it is.
Yeah, because despite us all wanting a white Christmas, our coldest months do tend to be January through to early March. So, back in the day, you had Winter Wolf, which did it used to be in January, or am I making that up, or was it always December? I can't remember.
I didn't win Winter Wolf, so I don't know that one, but
but as well that whenever it was, that usually was cold. You also used to have Airfield Anarchy Frostbite. I've still got my jersey from there. That's one of the best jerseys I think I've ever got from a competition.
Yeah, definitely. That was a really cold event, that one. Going down that stream. Ram Run Winter.
Yeah, with the blue rum t-shirt. That was good.
Tough Guy, obviously.
Yeah, it is funny being nostalgic. I remember Airfield Anarchy may have been like the second or third race I ever ran. And because I was a genius, my big idea to stay warm, was to wear 2 pairs of gloves, free t-shirts, that kind of thing. Not realizing that what happens is water gets in between them and it keeps you cold.
And that's why we have dry robes here.
Yes, absolutely. But another thing on Nuts, they do have rules out if you want to be in for qualification. What I like about it, Alan, if you abuse the officials, they will ask you to remove your bib and you will be removed as a potential qualifier.
So it should be, without a doubt. The officials are there to officiate, not to take abuse.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are taking part this weekend and you do dispute your place, you have got 30 minutes from the end of a race to raise it with a race director. Again, I think that's good because it's nice and clear that, if you go home, that's it. The race director's decision is final.
Yeah. With that bang on. Absolutely spot on, Ian.
Final thing of Nuts news. Have you seen what they're giving their volunteers?
I haven't, no. What do they get? Tell me.
You have a choice. You can have free entry to another Nuts, which is always a popular decision.
Yeah.
You could have a Nuts hat and hoodie, which they are really cool.
Yeah.
Or you could get a Nuts swimsy.
Ooh. So like a dry roll, but a swimsy.
Yeah.
Like a proper swimsy. Like a proper one, though. Not like one of these toweling things. A proper swimsy, is it?
I imagine it is. That's what it says on the website. It's a Nuts swimsy. And I do think stuff like that's useful because I remember you chatting to Grumpy not long ago, and Grumpy does race, but he doesn't do all the races. And there's plenty of volunteers who don't race at all. And I think giving them merch, but not the usual, or you can have a t-shirt and you can have some food, giving them merch that is worth having makes them want to come back.
Swimsies, dry robes, red robes, whatever, they're always worth having. And they're becoming more and more popular.
They absolutely are becoming more and more popular. Some for the good reasons and some for not so good reasons, eh, Alan?
Well, there's a little Facebook group going around called Dry Robe. It says W star
Winkers.
R, and I think it's the wearer.
Wearers, yeah, dry roll wearers.
Dry roll wearers,
absolutely. Yeah, that's what they're going for, and it's a fairly horrible group. Let's be honest. We do not condone, nor are we publicising it, but it came up because it was in a local news article talking about people turning up to events just wearing a dry robe, even if you wouldn't normally have it there, and it's proof that the OCR scene is once again trailblazers, because we've been doing that since 2016.
Without a doubt. Where's the strangest place you've took yours?
Oh, strangest place. I think the strangest place I've probably worn it, and it's not that strange. Although if I explain a bit more, it may come across. Our works was doing a bicycle thing to raise money for charity, and they were going round the lakes, which actually means round the entirety of the Lake District. So, what is it, about 60 miles or so?
I think I would have thought it might be a bit more, but yeah, let's go 60 miles.
Whatever it was, it might be 60 to 100. I've no clue. It was a long time ago now, but I was support van. So, of course, I had my trusty dry robe with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it caused a lot of merriment to my fellow colleagues because this was 2018. They'd never really seen it. And they say, "Oh, what are you wearing that sleeping bag for?" I'll tell you one thing, Alan. When the rain came in,
They wish they had one.
they absolutely wish that they had one. But yeah, that I don't know if that's too unusual, but that's definitely my most memorable dry robe moment. What about you?
My most strangest thing I've ever used it for is that I actually put it into a rucksack along with a picnic and took it up onto the Peak District and used it to sit on while having a picnic.
That's a genius idea. Yeah. What
Yeah.
I I think that's a great use of it because you've got that fur lining, haven't you?
It was beautiful, it was like sat up there. It was nighttime. We went to watch the sunset go down. So we took a picnic up, went to watch the sunset go down. Yeah, it was magical.
That's really cool. But yeah, don't go on this Facebook group. I think it's just people taking a mick because they're jealous, basically. They want a dry robe and they're too cheap to even go on our sponsors Immerse Recovery and buy a dry robe at a reduced price. So, don't give them any more publicity. As B Wood said in the pub, why are people like this, Alan? Just be kind.
Yeah, too right. Just be kind to everyone. That's what it is. Let's talk some fitness racing news. Ian, what's happening in the fitness racing world?
Well, this coming weekend we've got High Rocks Glasgow. Thanks to Mike Nolan and Graham Wells, who are Patreons, for helping us with the preview episode this time. Graham came on as a Glaswegian, telling us where to get the good iron brew. So make sure you listen for that. And Mike did an excellent spot about rules emphasis. So if you are taking part in High Rocks Glasgow, make sure you look out for that episode. If you are there, me and Jen are running, I want to say 10-20 mixed doubles on Saturday. So come and say hi if you see us. Don't worry, you'll have plenty of time. So if you get there 2, 3, we'll probably still be out there. Just come and say hi, because I will hold Jen back that much. Like I almost did with you, Alan. I almost held you back, but you were obviously a superior athlete and just dragged me round a bit. So that's that. I did have a query for you on High Rocks, actually.
Yeah, go on.
High Rocks released their information in terms of your start time on the Wednesday before.
Yeah.
Okay. For most people, it's not that much of a deal. But High Rocks Glasgow, the men's open goes from 12 noon all the way to 7 p.m.
Oof.
And I am wondering, is it just too long now when people have got to think about traveling?
I have to agree, and I think they got to start very soon, actually, at booking times, letting people choose a time, because we knew Manchester times, was it about a week and a half, 2 weeks in hand?
Yeah, we had 2 weeks notice that we were going to be in one of 4 ways that was over a 40-minute period. So it didn't matter to us.
Yeah.
We knew it was
wasn't
late.
that bad. And we changed whether I was going to go in the morning. I had chance to change it because I didn't know what time we were going morning or afternoon. So I changed time to change plans. If it's coming out Wednesday and you're getting a 7-hour slot, that's huge. You haven't got time, and maybe they're not elite athletes. Maybe they're not going to make the top 50, but they are athletes, and we all want to do better. And IROX is known for that because the timing systems and all that is all about an athlete wanting to become better. And one of the big things about becoming better is, and all athletes will talk about this, is training to the times you're going to race. So if you're going to race in the morning, you train in the morning. If you're going to race in an evening, you're training in an evening. And This is going to be no different. There's going to be some athletes here that are going to be training in the morning. You know, they're not going to know what time they're going to be till 12 o'clock and they get a 7 p.m. time. That's massive difference, you know.
Yeah, it is. And I've come to a little bit of defense to High Rocks here to some degree, in that when they were setting High Rocks up, they didn't know that much about, shall we say, the OCR community, or maybe just the English, sorry, I keep saying that, the British community. Our Scottish friends are going to have me on
Yeah.
Saturday, and I'll absolutely deserve it. But the British psyche of we will travel to races, because I remember talking to a couple of their head honchos, and their view is that people would go to their local High Rocks and then just do stuff during the year. They only expected people to do one High Rocks a year. So
Right.
they probably set it up with that in mind. And using the Manchester example, Alan, for me, it wouldn't have mattered. They could have told me the day of the race and I could figure out, just give me 40 minutes notice and I could get there. But I do wonder if they know, like you say, even if it's just a case of saying, well, these age groups will be, I don't know, from 12 till 4, these age groups will be 4 to 7. Split up like that, and it should work, surely.
I don't know how they can't do it months in advance. I really don't know how they can't do it months in advance. Why they wait till such a late time to organize it. You know, I just don't get that.
The reason being is because you can transfer your entry up to 7 days before the event. And if, for example, I was to transfer my entry to you, it then changes a little bit about the potential age group qualification because it goes off how many people are in it. So
Right.
that's why they do it so late for that reason. Could they have a better system? Yeah, probably they could. Will they? I guess if it becomes worth their while, they will. But at the moment, they're selling out events. Do they need to change?
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to say. The events are sold out well before, you know, why aren't they planning well ahead? But yeah, if that's the reason why, then that's the reason why.
Yeah, the other reason people wouldn't agree with, which is you can't transfer your ticket, and that's the end of it. I guess that would be all we could. Should we talk about my Decker Strong?
How was your Decker Strong this past weekend?
I amaze myself. I finished in a time of 26:16, which is not fast compared to some people. Some people can do it sub 15, and fair play to them. But for me, I was happy with that, Alan. I was absolutely happy to do Decker Straw. I did the lunges unbroken. I did the burpees unbroken. I absolutely hate the ball over shoulder exercise. It can get in the bin. It absolutely can get in the bin. And of course, my question, Alan, is when are we going to see you at a Decker event?
Well, I think that's got to be the next thing for me, hasn't it? I've done the High Rocks. Maybe I'm going to go back to High Rocks next year. Manchester's my gig. I like Manchester, so I may go back to High Rocks Manchester next year. I think a Decker has got to be one. I think we've got to go to a Decker at some point and give it a try. Which one should I do?
Well, I'm not sure. I think the good thing about a Decker is we could probably plan it. So me, you, and anyone else who's in the pub or just generally listening, we could almost do a Decker takeover if we pick one because they are at a gym. They get about 100 athletes or so, maybe a few more. We could probably pick one in the Midlands. So there's like Caveman Fitness, there's CW1 and a few others. So let's keep an eye on for the event. Should we? I don't know, Alan. How's your calendar looking? I'm thinking maybe April, May time if we have a look.
Well, we're going to struggle for April and May, if I'm going to be honest, Ian. I go away on holiday in April, my first holiday abroad in 9 years. I'm going to Bodrum. I booked my holiday to Bodrum. And May, it's the Farmyard Jam.
It absolutely is a farmyard, but it's early May, isn't it? The farmyard jam.
18th. So
18th,
we could maybe do
mid-May.
one end of May. Maybe we could do one early April or be end of May, I think.
Yeah, either early April, and you do know that Bodmin is in Cornwall, yeah?
Bodrum, not Bodmin with the Bodmin.
Oh dear.
We've
dear.
got a lovely hotel. We're going quite early because this is my theory Ian, about going on holidays. I love going abroad, I always have done, but I don't like going mid or late season. And my theory is, yeah, I've worked in hotels, and at the beginning of the season, they get all new mattresses and all new covers and everything else. So I know when I go in early May, I'm going to have very little people are going to have slept on the mattress that I'm going to sleep on. Very few people are going to put their head on the pillows, and the clothing can be smart. Where people who go away in August and September at peak periods, they're going to have to lay in beds that God knows how many people have laid in.
That's a good point. And also the hoteliers are excited for the new year, so are probably more attentive.
Exactly. That's why I go early in.
No, that's a very good point. You speaking about holidays, though, does make me a bit nostalgic. And something else that made me nostalgic was that podcast that you put out this week, mate. It was really great. You got a few members of our pub on the. You had some great chat. And listen, I'm not going to go through it because go and listen to it. Please go and listen to it if you haven't already. But one thing you did mention was about TV shows, and you mentioned Gladiators, yeah?
Yeah.
Have you been keeping up with the new Gladiators?
I have seen 2 episodes. I quite enjoy it actually. It's been quite good fun. I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it, but yeah, I've watched 2 episodes. The end run is still exactly the same as what it was years ago. It's not changed.
Yeah, it's very similar. I think, for example, the men no longer do the hand bite that we used to back in the
Oh, right,
day.
yeah,
So
yeah.
some slight changes, but yeah, it's very similar to how it used to be. I've now watched all the episodes that have come out today. I do have a slight niggle with it, and it's getting by a bit on nostalgia. I feel it's just something I can't quite put my finger on it, but it hasn't blown my socks away. Maybe it's because there only seems to be about 7 games that they're rotating through.
Yeah, I thought
And
there wasn't that many. I didn't feel there was that many. And they're trying to make some of the male athletes, they're trying to make one a little bit like Wolf, aren't they? What's his name? Mr.
uh,
Adonis or Poser or whatever his name is.
No, we've got Viper, who is basically meant to be a mean guy, and I think we've got Legend. I think is the
Legend,
one
that's the
who's
one. Yeah.
who is entertaining. And as the seasons progress, they're trying to make some of the other gladiators have personalities, but it's just not working. Uh, Legend is good because he's a YouTuber. If people didn't know, I probably just outed him. But he's been doing YouTube for many, many years, so he's got a personality.
Right.
A lot of the others are fantastic athletes, but they don't really come across. It just comes off stilted, and
Yeah.
it'd be better just to keep them as silent assassins.
And the referees trying to be like the old referees, using exactly the same phrases, and I want to change. I want to be changed differently.
Yeah, and yeah, because he does the whole contender ready and all that,
Yeah.
which he's doing his best to sound like John Anderson. And then he chats to him a little bit more, and his natural accent comes out, and
Yeah.
it feels like someone's trying to cosplay. And I want it to succeed because it's good for us if it succeeds.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
excellent for OCR if it succeeds, but it needs to strike out and become not just about nostalgia. It, Alan, it would be like if you brought back Dash of a Titan and did exactly the same race. It would do fine for nostalgia for maybe the first race. After that, not so much.
Yeah. It would need much more to maintain it, doesn't it? Yeah, I get that.
And that was my way of saying, don't you dare bring hay bales back to Overlord, ever.
Different race, mate. Might come back. You never know.
You better not. Oh, have we?
Overload? We're going to have a bit of competition to be announced very shortly. So when I get the full details, we're going to have we're only having one wave at Overload this year, so everyone's going to go out at the same time. So we're going to mass start and that, and we're going to make it a competitive race as well. So for people who want to run competitive.
Yeah, you don't have to, but there will be potentially something if you decide to run competitive.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Right, have we got anything else to cover? Any
Last
shout
thing,
outs we talk?
No,
Yeah.
last thing, awards, emails gone out to everyone who's registered. You have got, so if you're listening to this on Friday, you have got 2 days to register. If you're listening to it on Saturday, you've got 1 day to register. If you're listening to it Sunday, this is your final day to register for the awards. If you're listening Monday, you're not going. Tough luck. Unlucky. You've had your chances. Everyone's money must be in by Monday. By Sunday evening. Midnight Sunday. I've got to pay Monday morning, the hotel. I'm not paying for it out of my pocket, and hoping you're going to pay me. So please, if you have booked, and there's quite a few of you who have requested tickets, you've all got the email, hit me up, and also let me know if you have got dietary requirements as well. Check your emails, spam box, normal box.
Perfect. Check your emails, or in my case, maybe actually order a ticket.
Or maybe in your case, you order a ticket. I was actually going to say that to you then. I'm like, no, because I know you're going to order a ticket. I haven't ordered mine yet, but mine I haven't even filled my form in yet.
Which could work out well for the listeners, because if we forget and don't manage it, they'll get another couple of decent horse. I think Becky and Will have already paid.
They have. And we've got Tony Jarvis is coming to take pictures and that for us again.
He is awesome. We might need to get in that paddling pool though, just so he feels at home.
Just so he feels at home. I think that'd be a good one. And we've got one of them boards that, when you go to I've ordered one, so hopefully it's going to be here on time. One of the boards with all the sponsors on the background and that, so you can have your picture taken in front of it, and we're going to raffle it off on the night, Ian.
Oh, that's super cool. That absolutely is super cool. I can't wait. And yeah, is that to raise money?
It is to raise money, yes.
Perfect.
More details to follow.
Right. More details follow. Right, Alan. And on that, I'm going to say it's a goodbye from me.
And Ian, thank you for joining me again. Dassos, Becky, you've been an absolute star. I know you'll listen to this back afterwards. Thank you for joining us. In the meantime, boys and girls, you take care, you stay safe, keep on running. We'll speak to you soon. Bye.